What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another edition of The War Room. I am your host, Austin Mock. This is episode number 2. If you caught it last week, we previewed the NFC North, went through team by team. This week, the AFC West. That means we got Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, Jim Harbaugh, Mike McDaniel, and the Los Angeles Chargers, Bo Nix, Sean Payton, and the Denver Broncos, and number one draft pick, Fernando Mendoza, and the Las Vegas Raiders. So let's get right into it. If you didn't follow last week, I just go through each team, give my models, opinion of the team, win total, playoff odds, Super Bowl odds, all of that. Compare it to FanDuel, the betting market, see where we are, see where the differences are, why I might be higher, why my model might be a little too high, why it might be too low. That's the breakdown here. So let's just get right into it. Last week I went from worst team to best. Going to flip it up this week and going off the FanDuel division odds. Up first, the Kansas City Chiefs. One of the hardest things with the Chiefs this year is just going in and understanding what you're going to get out of Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, coming off the ACL last year, is he going to be ready to go for week one? I think he probably is, but how good is he going to be? Is he going to be limited? We don't know. So there is a bit of uncertainty there. What I find really interesting too, though, is they signed Kenneth Walker, Super Bowl MVP. They have had the least explosive run game the last 2 seasons, and it's been a problem going back even further. And Kenneth Walker solves a lot of those problems. The Chiefs have faced the lightest boxes in the last handful of years. Kenneth Walker is going to be a problem if you want to play light boxes against them. So, as much as there's a little bit of a concern with Patrick Mahomes and his health and his mobility, I think that's kind of offset with what you get out of Kenneth Walker in the run game here. So, right now over at FanDuel, I am recording this a little bit, a couple days before publishing, so things might change. But right now, 9.5 juiced over. My model sitting at 9.6. Again, I do have a little bit of uncertainty built in with Mahomes. I really want to buy into Kansas City, but I can't. Not, minus 140 is a pretty firm, pretty hard number for me to get behind here. I even think with them finish, like they got kind of a rough schedule the way that it works out. They play the NFC West this year, which is arguably the best division of football. They they have to go to obviously their division is good, but they host New England. They have to go to Cincinnati. They have to go to Buffalo. So not the easiest schedule for the Chiefs. Now, I will say the start is pretty favorable. Home against Denver, home against Indianapolis, at Miami, at Vegas. So that is doable. Those first 4 games you could easily see this 3-1. I think kind of the worst case scenario if you're the Chiefs. So maybe if it's for me, I'd want to come in after that stretch. And maybe come with some under because I would probably lean a little bit towards the plus 120 under 9.5 wins. Reason being that after that you have at Seattle, at Denver, home against the Jets, at Atlanta, home against Cardinals, at Buffalo, at at the Rams, and at Cincinnati. So none of those, none of those, you have a few wins in there with Arizona and the Jets at home, especially, but that's a brutal. Oh, sorry, it keeps going here. Home against the Patriots, home against the 49ers, at the Chargers. So I think there's a stretch there where, from week 6, they have the early bye week in week 5, week 6 to week 17 is a brutal stretch for the Kansas City Chiefs. So maybe not a preseason under bet for me, but definitely one that I'm looking at early in the season, especially if they look really good. I think that you could see this team going a little bit. I think they could be better than last year, but still struggle to maybe get to 10 wins just because of how tough that schedule is, how tough that stretch is in the second half of the year there. So that's my look for them. Defensively, I know traded away Trey McDuffie. We've seen this before. I think that I'm gonna put a lot of trust in Spags, so I'm not super low on them. Chris Jones is still very good. I think George Karlaftis can be a solid, number two. I know he's a top edge rusher, but kind of a solid rusher. I don't think you really want him to be your number one, but he's fine. With Chris Jones on the line, I think it helps. Um, how Peter Woods develops for them is going to be pretty solid. Norman Lott, I think, was solid for them last year. R. Mason Thomas. They have a lot of rookies. Ashton Galat, I think, was solid for them last year too. So a lot of rookies in the front seven that need to kind of step up. And then obviously Mansour Delane on the back end to kind of even stuff out. But Rashee Rice looks like he's going to be fine, I guess. I think the key, though, for them on offense, Xavier Worthy, we kind of saw it 2 years ago at the end. He came on strong, and then last year he got hurt right away. And I just don't think he was quite the same player after that. So, again, I'm not super bullish on them. I have concerns because of what Mahomes' status is. I have Josh Simmons was good last year, but I still have concerns about the offensive line, definitely right tackle. But the potential's there. And like I said, if Kenneth Walker's able to hit explosives in the running game, I do think I can find myself in a bullish position. But I'd like to see that, like I mentioned with the schedule. First four games are pretty favorable. Should be favored in all four of those. But then the rest of the schedule gets tough. So might be looking for a live season under there. So most likely record for me is 10-7. So market is pretty spot on here, but I do wonder if we can find a little value in season for them. Plus 170 to win a division. That comes out to about 37%. I have this at 32, so no value for me on the Chiefs. I don't think they should be the favorite. I think that should go to another team by a slight margin. We'll get to them in a sec, but they are the market favorite right now, just barely over the Chargers. I think that number is a bit too rich for my liking. We go to the playoffs. They're minus 184. If I'm pretty low on the division odds, you can imagine I'm probably going to be low on the playoff odds as well. Implied 65%. I think I make this closer to 60. So again, not going to be any preseason bets. Definitely bullish bets for me on the Chiefs. And they are 1,600 plus 1,600 to win the Super Bowl, coming to about 6%. Oddly enough, I think there's I think if I had to make a bet, it's probably this one rather than division and playoffs, just because I think things can go wrong for them. But again, I still don't like it. I don't think. I think this number is too much. I make this about in between 4 and 5%. So no value here, but probably what I'd want to go with just because it's the longest odds. If I'm buying, I guess my thought on it is if I'm buying the Chiefs, their ceiling would be incredibly high then because Mahomes is back to being the best quarterback in football. Kenneth Walker's bringing an element of explosiveness. Rashee Rice bounces back. Xavier Worthy's healthy and he's explosive, like we saw at the end of 2 seasons ago. Defensively, they find Mansour Delane's really good. Like their ceiling is super high, but I do think the floor can be a bit lower if the offense doesn't figure it out. The offensive line struggles a bit. This defense without Trent McDuffie, that kind of starts to trickle away from them. Maybe they're an average-ish defense at best. Chris Jones is getting up there in age. So nothing for me here in the preseason for them. I think they're a bit heavy on the price, admittedly. But I can understand it. The ceiling's there, but it's too much for me right now. So next team on the list, Los Angeles Chargers. I was really excited. Probably my favorite hire of the offseason with Mike McDaniel as offense coordinator. I'm a huge Jim Harbaugh believer. I think he's one of the best coaches in football. I was actually hoping that people didn't jump on the bandwagon enough or as much as they did, but this number shot up once they got McDaniel on board here. So win total again, recording a few days earlier than published here, but 9.5. Over is -135. My number is 9.7. So again, pretty much on market. They're going to be favored in a lot of games. Their schedule's, I think, a little bit more favorable than the Chiefs, but it's still tough. Like none of these teams in this division are going to get an easy break because they play the NFC West as well. And you know the Chargers get Baltimore. They have to go to Baltimore in this one. So they do lose Jesse Minter. I think that's a concern for me. Chris O'Leary is the hire for defensive coordinator. He was on the Chargers staff 2 years ago. Went to college as a DC at Western Michigan for a year. I love Minter. I think he's awesome. I'm not super concerned. I think the defense will be fine. The question for me is just, is there enough? Is there a period of time that they take to understand Mike McDaniel's offense? Is there an adjustment period, whatever you want to call it? Quentin Johnston went off last year, kind of a breakout year for him. Not that he's the top guy, but Lad McConkey, like, am I believing in Quentin Johnston as a second option? Ronda Gadsden had a good year, but the big thing for me and why I'm super bullish on top of the Mike McDaniel hire was that with Joe Alt on the field last year, this was a top 10 offense. EPA, success rate, whatever you want to look at. This was a top 10 offense with Joe Alt on the field. And once he went down, they could not block. And not only are they getting him back healthy, hopefully for the whole season, they're getting Rashawn Slater back. Might be the best tackle duo in the league. If you're going to tell me that Justin Herbert is kept upright all year, this is probably going to be a top 5 offense in football. So that's they added Brendan Thompson too, fastest player at the combine, as a deep threat. That'll be interesting to see how they're used for him. So inside interior offensive line still a question, but I think with the strong tackle play, life is going to be a lot easier for Justin Herbert if the Chargers can stay healthy, which is always a concern. Defensively, there's some concerns. Denzel Perryman, okay, solid. They still have Khalil Mack. I think he's still got stuff left in the tank. Tooley is had an awesome year last year. See if he can keep that rolling. Tarheeb still was a fantastic breakout pick for them. Still got Derwin on the back end, so they should be fine enough. I don't know, if they slipped out of the top 10 wouldn't be too shocking, but overall, I think this roster's in pretty good shape here. So 9.5. I'm right around there. Nothing for me to really get involved with on the win total. I think if there is a place where I'm more interested, I'm not quite there yet. It's the division market. They are plus 185. I think they're benefiting from kind of the Chiefs being a little bit overrated here in the market. A lot less uncertainty with the Chargers, really. Jim Harbaugh wins football games. The guy just wins no matter where he goes. He upgraded his offensive coordinator. Defensive coordinator left for a head coaching job. I think they made a hire that was within the system that defensive coordinator ran. So I think that's a solid move. He's not a first-time play caller, in the NFL, but he did get a year of experience in college. So similar thing to the Chiefs. Most likely record for me is 10-7 here, but I do think they have a better shot at getting to 11 wins here. Brutal stretch early on. Week 3 to week 10 at Buffalo, at Seattle, home against Denver, at Kansas City, at the Rams, home against the Texans, at the Ravens. If they can survive that, the second half of the season is not super easy, but home against the Jets, home against the Patriots, at the Bucks, at the Raiders, home against the Niners, at Dolphins, home against the Chiefs, at Broncos. A little bit of relief, not a ton, but if they can get that early stretch, I think you're going to kind of see this number go. So I think these should probably be like more flipped. I would make the Chargers the division favorite in the NFC West. I would bump the Chiefs down a little bit. Again, I get why the Chiefs are that high, but I think I think the Chargers have a pretty high ceiling here as well. So playoff number -168. It's going to be a lot of the same conversation here with uh, because I like them a little bit more on the division side. Um, Not enough for me to really get involved at this number. Again, around 61% for them to make the playoffs per my model, per my simulation, 63% per the markets at FanDuel. So not anything for me to really get involved there. This was the number I was really disappointed in. Chargers are also 16-1 to make the Super Bowl. I'm right on that number. Like I said, I have them a bit higher chance to win the division than the Chiefs. Higher chance to make the playoffs. I have a higher chance of them making the Super Bowl. I have it between 5 and 6%. So pretty much right on this number. I think the division is probably where I'd most want to get involved with the Chargers, but I think the market. I just I was bullish. The toughest part about them is I was bullish on the Chargers before they hired McDaniel because of how good they were with Joe Alton in the field. And if you're going to add Rashawn Slater, then like I'm double bullish in a way. And then Mike McDaniel hire just kind of wiped it all out. So credit to the market, they were on that early. There was really no once that news was announced, there was really no chance for to get involved here. But the Chargers are my favorites in the AFC West as it stands today on July 12th. I do believe that they're the best team in this division, and I do believe they should be the favorite over the Kansas City Chiefs for the NFC West. Gonna switch it up. Gonna go Raiders here. Not gonna go in order of division odds here. So, gonna say this now. The Raiders. This is a pivotal year for them in that you want to see Fernando Mendoza like improve each month, whatever it is. If he sits behind Kirk Cousins for a month, 6 weeks, whatever the number is, don't care. But let him do that. Let him improve. You build up the roster. I think they drafted pretty well. You want the season to go well, but you don't want to win games. You want to draft well next year. Perfect world as you get Jeremiah Smith. That's where this season that should be the goal of this season. Right now they're over 5.5 wins, -135. I have them about 6 wins. Not rushing to bet that. One, not a huge edge, but two, the issue that I have with how the schedule works out for the Raiders this year is week 16 and week 17 are against the Titans at home and at the Cardinals. Those could be two teams that are very well fighting for a top 5 pick in next year's draft. Maybe the Titans are in the quarterback market if Cam Ward doesn't have a good year. The Cardinals are definitely going to be in the quarterback market, so not as much of a competition because presumably the Raiders will not be drafting quarterback next year. I worry that those two games, which I think are pretty, I have that at 1.1, 1.2 wins out of their total. I don't know how motivated they're going to be to win. Now, the same argument goes for Tennessee and Arizona. I just think that might flip them down a little bit towards basically these games are both coin flips, which takes, 0.1, 0.2 wins off. So if you want to say 6 wins comes down to 5.8, that's the big thing for me. But overall, and you can even throw Cleveland in there in week 12, they're going to be in the quarterback market. Again, another game that I don't know if they're going to be looking to win. As much. I'm not saying they're going to actively tank, but I do have concerns. So I think six wins are most likely. 6 wins is their most likely win total for the year. 5 is right behind it, though. I think it's hard for them to get to 7. I think that's a big gap because just like the other teams, they tough schedule. You look at, and this is the question when does Fernando Mendoza take over? Maybe he looks awesome in camp and he gets the job right away, but it kind of seems like they want to play Kirk Cousins. They gave him a lot of money. First game against Miami, sure, like that works, but then you got to go to the Chargers, to the Saints, home against the Chiefs, at New England, home against Buffalo, home against the Rams, at the Jets, at San Francisco, home against Seattle, at Denver. So from week 2 to week 11, there are no cupcakes. Um, they do play at Cleveland in week 12. A natural thing. I know it's only 5 games, but home against the Chargers, home against Denver, home against the Titans, at Arizona, at KC would be a solid landing spot for them. So overall, I'm bullish on the Raiders. I don't know when you're getting Fernando Mendoza. That makes this projection harder. I don't know how much Kirk Cousins has left in the tank. We saw Geno Smith really struggle behind this offensive line last year. Could see the same with Kirk Cousins. So I don't. It's just really hard. Wide range of outcomes. I think from the standpoint of they could be, push his win total down to a full win if Cousins is really poor, because he was all right in Atlanta. Probably better than what people remember him for at the end of that. But we don't know what Mendoza is going to be like either. So pretty wide range of outcomes for this team, even though I think Brock Bowers is going to be awesome. I think Clint Kubiak's a great addition for them. I think it's going to do wonders for that offense. So Tyler Lindenbaum, Colton Miller back healthy, Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer is a tight end too. I think can be a lot of fun. Don't love the receiving core, Ashton Genty, and they got Mike Washington in the draft, so the running back room is stacked. I think there's potential here, but again, the Raiders are playing for next year. Best case scenario is draft Jeremiah Smith, see something you like out of Fernando Mendoza this year, and then in 2027, we're going to be bullish on the Raiders. So that's my outlook for them. Not getting too involved with their number division odds, 15-1. Like, no thanks. I'm pretty much right on market there. I don't know. Again, I don't know how I can bet this team because I don't really know what their motivation is going to be late in the season. Make the playoffs. I'm right there on 16% with the market implied number. Super Bowl, 125-1. I think they were 150-1 a few weeks ago. No, the schedule is super difficult. Like, even if they go 7-10, 8-10 just seems, or 8-9 seems so difficult. And just like the road to the playoff in that division just seems impossible. I have it less than 1%, which market's at 125. So in agreement, not enough for me to get involved there. I'd have to get that like Browns number there at 350-1. That would be enticing, but not at this number. I have it less than 0.5% for those. Really looking for the exact number there. So next year, we're looking for the Raiders. So last team, NFC West, the team, or AFC West, the team that won it last year, Denver Broncos. Polarizing team. I was hoping to be bearish on this team, and I was looking to really kind of fade them because I do not think Bo Nix is a very good quarterback. I think Sean Payton is a very good football coach. I think he's a very good offensive mind. I think he knows how to use Bo Nix to maximize his skill set. But when looking last year in qualified quarterbacks, 30 of them, adjusted EPA per play, you look at Bo Nix, 18th. Drop back success rate, this is the one I don't love, 25th. I talked about this with Caleb Williams in the episode in the NFC North last week. If you cannot successfully move the ball down and down, it's really, really hard for me to back you. I would love to back Caleb Williams because I think his talent is through the roof. The difference here with Bo Nix is I don't think Bo Nix's talent is through the roof. I think he's a good quarterback, or a solid quarterback, but he's more game manager type than I'm going to go take over the game and win. And so that's my concern, is I don't know what the ceiling here is. I'm assuming he's going to end up around the 20th best quarterback, EPA, success rate, all those things. Man, I just can't. I can't get there. It's just you just look at him play, and I don't really like. There's clutch plays, sure. I think that's more likely to regress than anything. But I will say, adding Jalen Waddle, I think, is an awesome move for them. I think Sean Payton knows how to use that type of skill set. Adding him to Cortland Sutton, I am bullish on Jalen Waddle and his numbers this year. So the beauty of it, adding him to the skill like wide receiver, the catch got some solid option pass catchers. Offensive line, very good, one of the best in football. That's why this team is able to do what they do because the offensive line holds up, and Bo Nix can make some plays. Defensively, solid defensive line. I'm a big Nick Bonito fan. I think the front seven is solid. I just don't think they're great, and that's my concern a little bit. Is like if they fall back a little bit, where do they go? Where do they go from here? But Zach Allen, good player. Like I said, Nick Bonito, still got Pat Surtain. A little bit concerned about the rest. I'm not a huge believer in the rest of the secondary, but with a guy like Surtain, it makes your life a lot easier. Win total for the Broncos 9.5 minus 120. My number 9.2. So I'm a little bit towards the under here. The problem is the way that their distribution works is I actually think 10 wins is more likely than 9, but I do think there's a bit of a floor here that we're not the market's not fully accounting for. Their schedule is absolutely brutal to start. I think Bo Nix can absolutely struggle out of the gates, and they're like battling way uphill here. At Kansas City, home against Jacksonville, home against the Rams, at San Fran, at the Chargers, home against Seattle on a Thursday night, at Arizona, home against Kansas City. That's their first 8 games. Then they have to go to at Carolina, so that's not an easy game either. So second half of the year is much easier. After their bye week, starting in week 11, home against the Raiders, at the Steelers, home against the Dolphins, at the Jets, at the Raiders, home, and then last 3 weeks, home against Buffalo, at New England, home against the Chargers. So they really, like the way that I look at this schedule is they really need to, like, I'll even say starting week 7 at Arizona, they really have to like crush it week 7 through 15. They should be favored in all those games. Maybe not home against Kansas City. I don't see Kansas City being, that. I mean, it's possible, but that much better. But that's a lot of games to be favored in. They're gonna have to do really well in that stretch. But there is a world with that start weeks 1 through 8, even weeks 1 through 6. Like there's a world where they're 2-4. Like it's not crazy to think about. So again, the theme of this division is tough schedule. The Broncos have a brutal start and a brutal end, and so their season is really going to be dictated by how they perform during those 2 stretches there. So hard for me to get involved. Hard for me to be bullish on them. I am bearish. I think under 9.5 plus 100 is a solid move. You'll get the division race. Again, the tough part is I think Kansas City is overvalued a bit. But same thing here with Denver, 32%. I have it about 29% in per 28, 29% per the market. Sorry, per my model. So definitely lower compared to market here. So looking at the playoff odds, minus 148, sitting right under 60%. I'm down at 53. So overwhelming thing, I am bearish on the Denver Broncos in 2026. I do love the Jalen Waddle move. I do love their offensive line. I'm just not ready to buy in to the Bo Nix train. Sean Payton gave up play calling duties as well. There's going to be a trade. He's still going to be involved with it, but it's not him. I think there's a bottom here that we're not really ready for. So definitely bearish on the Denver Broncos heading into 26. Super Bowl market, they're at 20-1. I have this less than 4%, so this is nowhere near the 4.8 implied there. So I am not getting involved with the Broncos. They will be a fade team for me. Looking to see if Sean Payton can make me hate my life for that. So that is it for the AFC West preview. Again, gonna keep this series going with the War Room here, breaking down each division as we lead up to the season week by week. If you haven't already, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave your comment below about which team I'm wrong on, which team you agree with, which division I should do next, whatever you want. Please, please, please entertain the conversation. It's very good for the algorithm to recognize my stuff and push it out to people who think it's relevant. So please, 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 like, subscribe, and do please comment. So that is it for episode 2 of the War Room previewing the AFC West. Next week will be, I don't know what division we're doing next, but next week I will be we'll be breaking down another one. So thank you so much for watching, and until next time, enjoy your week, enjoy your summer. Football will be here soon enough.